Hi there, everybody out there in LinkedIn land. Maybe you're watching us in Facebook land. Welcome to another one of my Own Your Expertise interviews. I'm Emily Crookston. I'm the owner and decider of all things at the Pocket PhD. I'm the ghostwriter for Rebels, Renegades, and Mavericks, and I love helping experts with big ideas get those ideas out of their heads and into the hands of their fans. Today, I'm sitting down with Amanda Stern. Amanda is a journaling educator and consultant, and her business is called Good Things Come to Those Who Journal. I love that title. I love that the name of the business, and I've been following Amanda on LinkedIn for a while now. I love her posts, so I'm super excited to chat with her. Amanda, thanks for speaking with me. Would you
Sure.
like to tell us a little bit more about who you work with and what you do?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Emily. I work with ambitious professionals who want to journal and journal better. I believe that good things do come to those who journal and that there are all kinds of ways to journal. So everyone can find really their own way into the journaling world and access all of those good things that come their way.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that because you just posted about this I think today that there's so many ways to journal, and as somebody who's wanted to be a regular journaler, not really managed to make that happen for myself. I do find that really comforting. Like, there doesn't have to be a way to journal. You don't have to always do gratitude journaling, or you don't have to always just do stream of consciousness, right? You can go find a prompt online and do whatever. And I like the idea that your journaling can kind of fit your mood. I think that that's kind of nice. And like, there doesn't have to be just one way. So I really appreciate that myself.
Well, I like to tell people that it's like having a toolbox, right?
Yeah.
Like a hammer isn't enough to fix everything in your house. You need wrenches and screwdrivers and pliers, and that using a combination of these tools gets the job done. And journaling is the same way. There are so many different
Mhm.
ways to journal. Like you said, gratitude journaling is stream of consciousness and using prompts, but then there's also habit tracking and progress tracking
Mhm.
toward our goals and really digging deep and exploring your feelings or brainstorming things that we want to learn or do
Mhm.
or places
Mhm.
we want to go, right? All of those are journaling. And I
Yeah.
find there are so many people who journal and don't call it that and don't realize that's what they're doing. Like,
Right.
I call it planning my day or jotting down notes or sketching
Yeah.
ideas or just writing, right? But
Mhm.
that's all
Mhm.
journaling. And I
Mhm.
believe when you own that and you call it what it is,
Mm. Mm.
get access to all of those benefits.
Mhm. That's great. Yeah, I love that. So how would you describe your path to becoming the expert you are?
Yeah, I would call it accidentally on purpose. So I've been journaling my whole life
Mhm.
almost.
Mhm.
I discovered it when I was an angsty teenager. I journaled my way through high school and college. I journaled less when I was a busy mom with young kids, and I found my way back to it, or it found me. And I started writing about journaling on LinkedIn kind of accidentally on purpose. I was doing a 30-day writing program. I needed something to write about. And I thought I can write about journaling for 3 or 4 days, maybe a week if I stretch it. And that'll give me some time to figure out what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
And I've just been blown away from the beginning at how this has resonated with people,
Mm.
how much people connect with this content. I'm floored that there haven't been there hasn't been a lot of chatter on LinkedIn really until now. And now I'm really starting to see the journaling chatter pick up. And I'm really grateful because it's such a wonderful, useful, effective, versatile tool. We all can have
Yeah.
access to it and we all should be
Mhm.
journaling in some way, shape, or form.
Mhm. Yeah, I think with all the emphasis on burnout and how to avoid burnout, and self-care is, such a thing. I see a lot of chatter about self-care all the time and mental health and all of that. Journaling definitely fits into all of those different ways of taking care of yourself and just getting out of your head in, in some ways, and taking all of that mess that's up there and putting it down on paper is so helpful. I think it's so interesting, even like the science behind it. When you write using your hand and using your hand-eye coordination, and then it's out there, it's outside of your head, and you can look at it objectively. All of that is those benefits are just incredible. Whenever I read about that stuff, I'm just like, wow, that's it's amazing.
Well, you might be interested. There's a great TEDx talk by Jake Weedman, who's the world's
Mm,
youngest master penman, and he talks about writing by hand and what that does for us. He's got
mhm.
two; they're both really short. I think it's 13 and 16 minutes. Definitely worth a watch if you're interested.
Oh, yeah, I would love to check that out. Yeah, because it's so funny because I'm usually on the computer, and when I really want to journal, well, actually, so I'm usually on the computer, I'm usually writing, and I think that I kind of think through my fingers. But when I get on a call with a client, I always go to my notebook and my pen and paper. And it's like a different, if I want something to kind of stick in my head, I've got to write with a pen. If I'm typing it, I'm not going to remember. It's just not going to get into me in the same way. But it's so interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
and I'm
intellectual.
exactly the same way. I do so much work on a computer that journaling is something I do by hand
Yeah,
intentionally. I know there's a lot of people who don't like to write, and to those people, I say, "Cool, you don't have to."
yeah.
There's so many digital journaling apps and ways to journal electronically that if that is what's going to motivate you to do it, cool, that's the
Mhm,
right way for you.
mhm.
I mean, I've always liked to write by hand. I'm a calligrapher for fun. I
Yeah.
like the I like I like the feel of pen on paper. I like
Mm,
forming letters. I like looking at at the words that I wrote and thinking, "Oh, they're lovely. My penmanship is lovely." But also,
yeah.
I think best when I'm writing because writing by hand slows me down
Yes.
enough
Mhm.
to really let my brain and my head and my hands and my heart and all of me sync up with each other.
Mm,
Always tell people, like, I'm not sure, like, I think I know how I feel about that, but let me journal on it and then I'll know.
mm,
The
mm,
security for
mm.
me comes through writing, and it comes from writing longhand, usually in my journal.
Yeah, yeah, that's so fascinating. I'm sure you have lots of opinions about type of paper and types of pens that you like to use, right?
Look, it's funny. I have done all kinds of journaling on all kinds of things. Um, I'm, and I hear a lot from people, well, I'll start journaling when I find the perfect notebook. When I find
Mhm.
the perfect journal, then I can start. But then they get the perfect notebook and then they don't want to write in it because it's perfect and they
Yeah.
don't want to ruin it, or they feel this undue pressure to put
Mhm.
like the perfect things, to which
Yeah.
I show them my journal, and it's nothing fancy. It is a I like it because the pages are smooth, it's got lines, the lines are thinly ruled, so my handwriting is neat.
Mhm.
It's got a hardcover. I usually journal on my lap, so I want something sturdy. It cost me $8 at my local retail store. Um, I've journaled with really nice things. I've journaled with composition notebooks I got from 25 cents. I like something middle of the road, something that's nice enough that I look forward to using it, but not
Yes.
something so nice I'm gonna put undue pressure on myself.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I love all those tips. It's so helpful. I love it. So, I mean, it really does sound like your path to becoming this journaling expert kind of found you, right? It wasn't even as if you had gone out looking for it. It just kind of showed up when it was ready to be explored. I guess that's
Yeah.
really cool. Yeah.
I call it my very own Wizard of Oz moment. I've spent so much of my life really looking for the thing that I could make my own and give to the
Mm,
world, and just to discover in my own backyard that it's this thing that I've always done. And it's funny because I was telling a friend the other day, it's it's not journaling. Like, I love journaling. It's super helpful. I
mhm.
do it. I enjoy doing it, but that's not where my passion is. My passion is helping other people connect with journaling so they can see the benefits and the magic in their own lives. And
Right.
it's for me, it's that education piece. I have a
Mhm.
background as a school librarian. I love teaching and sharing. I'm the go-to person for my friends if they want to learn how to make an apple pie, or plant a garden, or whatever weird
Right.
thing they want to do. I probably have done it or can figure it out with them. So it's that teaching bit that I
Yeah.
really get passionate about, and helping people really catch the magic and um, find a way that works for them, to find their own in, because there are so many
Mhm.
different ways to journal, that the way you journal, Emily, might not look like how I journal. And
Yeah.
how you journal today might not look like how you journaled yesterday or how you
Mm.
journal tomorrow.
Mm.
That's not only fine, it's great. It's the absolute right way. If you're getting what you need from your journaling, you're doing it right. It's funny, I
Mhm.
was having a conversation yesterday with some friends, and somebody said to me, "Oh, I'm a rookie at journaling, even though I've been doing it for 10 years." And I kind of pressed him a little bit, and I was like, "Well, what makes you a rookie?" And he's like, "Well, I journal differently all the time. I can't stick with one thing." And I asked him, I said, "Well, are you getting what you need every day from your journaling?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Dude, that's not a rookie. You're like expert level. Like you are doing it right." And
Yeah.
like, this collective hush kind of fell over us. And we were like, wow, it was great. It was such a moment for him to be able to like realize that about
Mm.
himself. And
Mhm.
I mean, all I did was just point out the obvious to me. Like,
Right.
look, dude, you're doing it. But
Yeah.
sometimes it takes somebody
Mhm.
from an outsider's perspective to really show us what's working and what's good.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that description of teaching as helping someone find their own way into the subject, right? Like I used to be a teacher too. I used to be a philosophy professor. And I always would tell my students, I'm not here to like if I could open up your brain with a can opener and pour all the information in, that would be great. But that's not how things work, and I can't do that for you. What I have to do is facilitate your learning. I'm more of a coach. I can lead you, lead the horse to the water, whatever. You can't make them drink, right? That kind of thing. Like you have to meet me halfway. I have to meet you where you are, and you have to meet me halfway. But I really love that idea of like helping someone find their way into journaling, like what resonates with you, what's going to work for you and your lifestyle. You don't have to journal every single day, right? That doesn't need to be. And if you miss a day, it's not a failure, right? It doesn't matter.
Mm.
And it's kind of it reminds me also of like my yoga practice where I was listening to a comedian saying like you can't win yoga, there's not, and I feel like the same thing with journaling. You can't win journaling, there's no like prize, there's no end game here. It's just getting your thoughts out, and if it's fulfilling you in this moment, then it's worth it. It's giving you what you need. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love to tell people that our journals don't judge, that I journal every morning
Mhm.
because that's what works for me. But some people get the benefits they need from journaling by journaling every couple of days or once a week.
Mhm.
And there's no need to put undue pressure on ourselves. I remember years ago when I was an inconsistent journaler, I used to start every entry with, well, it's been 6 weeks and 4 days since the last time I journaled, like it's confession, right? And I hated to that period because it started so icky and I always felt so crummy. And then
Mm.
one day I thought about it. I was like, why am I doing this to myself? My journal doesn't know what day it is. The journal doesn't care, right? So when I stopped
Yeah.
apologizing to myself and to my journal for inconsistency, guess what?
Mhm.
I became more consistent. I looked forward to journaling. It didn't become
Mm.
an exercise in facing how awful I thought I was. It was, hey, cool, I've got a fresh page, and now I can think through all of these things that I need
Mm.
to think through.
Mm.
It just became
Mhm.
such a gift for me in my life.
I'm curious, how often do you reread what you've written?
I reread when I have to reread. Um, I go back if I'm looking for something in
Okay.
particular,
Mm.
usually at the end of the year, when I'm doing a reflection, I want to kind of skip back and see what my year has been like. Or if I'm trying to remember details of a particular thing I wrote about. So
Mhm.
a couple of months ago, I was telling someone the story about how gratitude journaling changed the trajectory of my life about 8 years ago.
Mm.
My then husband came home from work one day and he was like, "I've decided I'd be happier not being married to you."
Ooh.
And
Mm.
yeah, ooh is exactly with that, right? So I
Yeah.
did the only thing I could think of is I reached for my journal and I
Mm.
knew I had a choice to make that I could
Mm.
either let myself spiral into negativity or I could reach out and grab hold of every good thing that came my way. So
Mm.
I opened my journal and I made myself write what I was grateful for. And it's funny because the way I told the story for years was that I wrote three things. And so a couple of months ago, I went and I found that journal because
Uh-huh.
I remember thinking, like, how many things really did I write? Because three was like a good number for a story, right? And I counted 8 things. And I
Wow.
thought, holy cow, if I can be grateful for 8 things on the hardest day of my life, what a
Mm,
good life I lead. I mean, even if it
yeah.
was only 3 things, if I can be grateful for 3 things on the hardest day,
Yeah.
that's still a really good life.
Mhm.
So it really did change the trajectory of my life.
Yeah, I love that story. Yeah, it's so funny because we think that we have perfect memories, we think that we remember absolutely everything that happened to us exactly correctly. And so it's such a nice exercise to go back and look and say, "Oh, actually I didn't remember it exactly the same way."
Yeah. And I will tell you, my biggest regret is that I did not journal enough when my kids were small because I was tired and I was busy. And I honestly really did think I would
Mm,
remember. And it is the biggest, saddest thing that
yeah.
all of those cute stories of all the things that they did
Yeah.
really just slipped from one side of my brain, out the other side. Um, and
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that is what I always tell my friends who have babies. Like, I know
Mhm.
you're busy. I know you're tired. Find 3 minutes somewhere. You can do
Yeah.
it in 3 minutes. If you have
Yeah.
to, set a timer, right? Just give yourself those few minutes. Take your journal into the bathroom if that's the only place you can get privacy, but
Mhm.
carve out that time for
Mm,
you, because even 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day, we deserve it. We're
yeah.
busy. We've got all these thoughts bouncing around. If we can take the time to, even if all we do is take the loose thoughts that we're worried about, right? Take them out of our brain, put them on the page. Sometimes the distance between here and here is just enough space to get perspective and to
Mhm.
really see what's going on.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes so much sense. That's yeah, there's no optimal time that you need to be spending either, right? Going back to there's no right way to journal, there's no optimal time. Even if you're tired, it can be such a lifesaver. It just yeah, I think one of the nicest things about social media is that it shares our memories with us, and that's a nice thing. And you can almost think of that as a digital journal or a digital diary in some ways if you're posting regularly on there. But yeah, just taking those moments to jot down those life changing events, and just to get them down onto the page. What a gift to your future self, when you're
Because
doing
we think we'll remember,
yeah,
and we'll be much more likely to remember if we take the time to write it down.
absolutely. Yes, yes. This is just one of the right? Yeah. Awesome. What would you do the most in learning how to own your expertise?
What has helped me the most? Um, I think what has helped me the most is having a supportive community.
Mm,
Um, that every day when I show up on LinkedIn, there are people who are excited and willing to share.
mhm,
So I share what works for me. I share tips on how they can make it work for them. And then in the comments, we have these really great conversations. Yesterday, we were talking about how we choose a journal, and people shared things from I like, big fancy notebooks to I like cheap dollar store composition books to it has to have a spiral binding because I like to lay it flat. Right.
mhm.
So this kind of conversation, I mean, and that was just like surface how do I choose a journal, but we have these conversations about how journaling helps us and how we make it work. And to have the ability to share with others what I know and to
Mm,
have the ability to learn from others at the same time, and we're all learning and progressing together, that has been the greatest gift for me in this journey
mm.
for sure.
That's so great. And I love how, everyone thinks of journaling as being a very internal thing, right? It's something you do by yourself. You shut the door and right? Like maybe you're even very secretive. You don't want other people reading it. But when you have that, that ability and you have a skill, it's really a skill, I would say, that you can share with other people. It's so magical to find the way to share it, right? You're not even sharing what's in your journal most of the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're sharing the prompts that you use. But it's just here's how I do it and how do you do it? And such a nice conversation. I
Well,
really love that. Yeah.
it's funny because I was having a conversation with a friend of mine last week, and she said to me, she's like, "We've been friends for 15 years, and we've never until today had a conversation about journaling." And I was like, oh yeah. I mean, I guess we really haven't. But like, how was I going to bring it up?
Right.
Was I like, hey, guess what? I journaled today. Like, yay me. Like that's all I
Right.
had to say at the time, right?
Mhm.
But now it's I mean, it very much is, it has gone from being the solitary sport to a group community thing.
Yeah.
Last week, I ran a morning journaling group, and it was amazing. I
Mm,
had a group of women who journaled with me between 8 and 8:30, and every day we journaled differently because I wanted to
mm,
arm them with different techniques they could use and show them how they could put them together so that they could journal differently to every day if they need to get the results they need. And it was
mm,
really cool because, again, it went from being this thing I did all by myself and I didn't talk about to just a way to connect with other people and a way to come
yeah.
together. And even though we weren't necessarily sharing what we were writing, we were having this common experience. My
Mm,
friend Nikolai calls it social journaling. And I think
uh-huh.
it's really cool how it
Yeah.
brings people together.
Oh, that's so cool. Yes, I love that. And I think everybody has something like this, right? They have something that they could share with other people that they do, and a nice way to think about a business or to think about, doing a side. It's just it's simple, right? You don't have to have like this big idea that solves the biggest problem in the universe. You just have to be willing to share like what works for you and what you know. I love that.
And I think that has been part of the wonder of it all because
Yeah,
journaling to me has always been something that I've just done without really thinking about. I mean, I think about it while I'm
sure.
doing it, but I don't
Yeah,
until I started talking about it on LinkedIn and
yeah,
making it part of the conversation. It
yeah.
it was just a thing I did. Now it
Right.
feels like a much richer part of me that I
Yeah.
have this thing that I do that I can share, and it really
Mm,
feels like a gift that I can share with other people is
mm,
helping them catch the magic. And it's a gift that I've wanted to find for so long because I've
mm,
jumped from this thing to that thing and this other thing, trying
mm,
to find what lit me up and what gift I could share with other people because I get so much from everyone else. Just from my time on LinkedIn, I've become a kinder, broader thinker. I'm much
mm,
smarter, I'm much more empathetic. And
mm.
I wanted something of my own that I could add to the collective. And so this really is more of a gift to me, I feel like, than a gift to everybody else.
Oh, I love that. That's so amazing. Yeah, it's incredible when you have to teach something. It just makes you think so differently about it and
Yeah.
in such a deeper way. And I totally understand that feeling. I feel the same way when I can connect with a client. It's just like, yeah, this is helping you, and that's part of the gift that I see too. That's my gift as well, is just like that mutual connection and that mutual sharing of ideas. It's such a great thing. Well, Amanda, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for sharing this time with me. Would you like to tell people where they can find you online if they're curious?
Yeah, sure thing. So you can find me on LinkedIn every day. I share journaling related content. I share fresh journal prompts every day. So you always have something new to journal about if you need it. And you can also find me at goodthingscometothosewhojournal.com.
Yay! Thanks so much, Amanda.
Perfect. Thank you, Emily.